everybody, welcome to Jacob's Quest, and I just got done watching episode 8 of season 2 of House of the Dragon, the season finale. And yeah, this episode did a lot. It also didn't do a lot, so we'll get to that. First, we have Daemon over here, and I think we're just gonna start here because this is probably like the most exciting thing a lot of people are going to be talking about. Basically, yeah, Daemon finally got all the River Lords under his control now that, you know, the old man totally died, and we got the grandson over here gathering all of them up last episode. So he wakes up with Alice Rivers in his bed, basically saying, "Come with me, I'm gonna show you some spooky future stuff," you know, which, look, this whole season, Daemon's been playing Resident Evil or Luigi's Mansion or whatever people have been saying. He's been stuck here at Harrenhal, being haunted by his past, going to, I guess you would call it ghost therapy, basically just like learning how to be a better person while he's stuck in this haunted castle. So Alice finally says, okay, you're ready to understand, or you're ready to know what is being given to you. So he touches the tree. Actually right before this, and I did not catch this. I saw this, people online talking about this, and I was like, oh, I did not notice this at first. There is like a creature in the shadows. He's like a horned, two-legged creature, and it walks out of screen really quickly as they're walking towards the tree. And somehow I didn't catch it at all. I just saw people online mentioning this thing, and I had to like go back and watch it myself. I was like, oh, that's... So I don't know what that was. Some kind of, you know... Basically, magic stuff is happening in Game of Thrones. It's always cool when magic things happen because it's always so, like, the show's like 90% really grounded, and then suddenly it's like, oh, right, get ready for some weird tree stuff. It's about to happen. So he touches the tree, and he basically gets a vision of all of Game of Thrones. He sees Daenerys with her 3 dragons. He sees a bunch of bodies everywhere. He sees the 3-eyed raven. He sees possibly people, children of the forest. He sees the White Walkers walking towards him. And, you know, basically he begins to understand this greater scope of things of like, oh, everything that I want and everything that my family is going through and this whole war, it's just such a small piece of history compared to the bigger picture of like where this is all ultimately leading. And that's really cool, you know what I mean? Like the idea that they're all really tying this into the White Walkers and winter is coming, which he actually says later, and that's really, really awesome. I think my only real complaint at this point is that, well, we know what happens in Game of Thrones. We know that like the White Walkers attack, and it all kind of ends in just one episode, and none of the main characters really die from that event, or I think maybe one person does. And then Arya Stark, who does not seem to fit in this prophecy at all, is the one who ends it. So it's like, I don't know, it's cool that they did the Valyrian steel dagger and like the prophecy of ice and fire, the song of ice and fire, and then now Daemon is seeing all this stuff, and it's a really cool way of like mythologizing the White Walkers again, making it feel like it's gonna be really epic and really important. So I guess I'm just curious, like we know how it ends, and it doesn't feel like you can change that, so I don't know. I'm conflicted on how I feel about this, because on one hand, it's awesome. It feels cool to be like anticipating the White Walkers again, and like that whole like inevitable doom that's coming down, and like prophecy and all this stuff, the prince who was promised, and like all this stuff, right? But again, we know how Game of Thrones ends, and kind of all of that just gets dropped. So I don't know. On one hand, I'm really happy that they included all this, and on the other hand, I'm like, but it doesn't really lead anywhere. It doesn't really get to be a thing, you know? It just kind of ends in one episode, and then they move on. And I'm like, okay, all right. So I don't know. What this does kind of tell me is that Daemon's story is not gonna be over like it is in the books. So let's just keep going. Basically, later on in the episode, Rhaenyra hears word that Daemon has gathered all the River Lords, possibly possibly loyal to him. Like he's gonna make a play for the throne, and that's basically what the ghosts of his past have been asking him the entire season. Do you still want the crown? The crown's really bad for people. I don't know if you want this, so basically, now that he's got this greater perspective and the future and all that, he bends the knee to Rhaenyra in front of everyone. They all are like loyal to her now. She has this army raised. She has Daemon back. She has all these dragons from the other bastards now who, I think I'm kind of worried about Ulf, because Ulf is kind of belligerent. He seems to definitely be like, he's not really loyal to anyone. He's just kind of doing this because like, oh cool, I was basically a nobody and now I got all this power, so I don't know if Ulf can be trusted, that's one thing. But basically everything's looking up for Rhaenyra right now, and she's being told like, hey, go for King's Landing right now, because Alicent shows up at the end of the episode and she's like, look, they're gonna be gone. I'm gonna unlock the gates for you. I just want this to be over. I'm done with this. And Rhaenyra's like, okay, but I have to kill Aegon because he was the guy who claimed the throne. I have to kill him. That's how this works. I'm not going to be able to gather everyone's loyalty if someone else who claimed the throne and was on the throne is still out there. So he has to die. And Alicent basically says, okay. And it feels like the episode's leading towards that. And then it just kind of ends. The episode just stops right there, right before all this stuff happens. Now, obviously the books have been out. We all know what's about to happen. But I can definitely tell that this season finale might have pissed some people off because, it was a lot of buildup, and it feels like if we had maybe just 1 or 2 more episodes in this season, like, 10 episodes, I think season 1 was 10 episodes, then we could have gotten to that epic, like, they arrive at King's Landing, and then, a bunch of spoilery stuff happens, So we kind of stopped right before doing all that, and I'm hearing word that it's going to be like, 2 years possibly before we get the next season, and that just feels like such a long time to wait. I know this is like a big budget, high quality show, and it takes a long time to film, but man, 2 years we gotta wait before we get like the next, I don't know. It was also such a build up and then just kind of and pause. So I guess we're all just waiting now to see what they're gonna do and what they're gonna change from the book. We'll get into spoilers in a second as to what is supposed to happen. Let's see what else. Yeah, see, Jace is still kind of mad that all these other bastards are here. He feels like it kind of lessens his claim because he's also a bastard, and Ulf kind of points that out, like, oh, look at your dark hair, it's so dark. They can't say we don't have Targaryen blood now, can they? So like, Ulf is basically just saying like, yeah, we're on the same footing here, and Jace is all like, yeah, I'm supposed to be the prince, and this kind of, kind of reduces a lot of that, like, just visually. Let's see what else. Alicent is trying to leave. She wants to run away. That's kind of what she spent all last episode doing, just experiencing, like, you know what, I think I could just live out here in the woods on the road, just get out of here, I don't care about all of this anymore. Let's see, Aemond, of course, he's really pissed off that he's no longer the most powerful thing out there because his dragon can be outnumbered now. So he kind of just takes it out on some town and kills a bunch of people, and then he tries to force Helena to, like, hey, you have a dragon, instead of being, weird and seeing the future and stuff, get on your dragon, come with me to Harrenhal, let's go attack Daemon. And Helena's basically like, no, I'm not gonna come with you. In fact, you're gonna die, and Aegon is gonna take the throne. And she basically, I mean, I said no spoilers, but Helena basically spoiled what's about to happen in the show because she's got her, like, future-telling powers in the show, and so she basically tells Aemond everything that's about to happen. And yet I feel like he did not take her seriously. He's even like, I can have you killed for saying that, and she's like, it wouldn't change anything. So yeah, very interesting to see where they're going with that, because she also showed up in Daemon's vision. She was talking with Daemon in the vision that was happening while he was with Alice Rivers. So, like, what's her connection to all this? Like, she can see the future, but she also seems to be able to, like, she sees the present really far away. She's connected to the trees, and you know, like, it feels like Helena and Alice Rivers should be having like a conversation, and I would watch an entire episode about those two talking, because there's a bunch of like magic future stuff happening, and it's very unclear who knows what and who's connected to what. What's the three-eyed raven's place in all this? I don't know. It's very cool though. I like everything that's happening. Anyways, let's see what else. And then we basically just have a montage of different things being set up. We have the Valerian daughter. What was her name? It's not Reyna, but anyways, one of the Valerian daughters, the one that was supposed to be on the ship with the two like toddler children, she runs off to go find a dragon that she saw all these like dead sheep for. So she basically completely, like, she's supposed to get on that ship with those kids and be like their protector, and she completely like rejects that and be like, I'm gonna go find this dragon. Doesn't tell anybody, just runs off and does it. So kind of strange, but she sees a dragon at the end, so you know, basically we have another episode where, hey, surprise, this person claims a dragon. So, you know, that's gonna be good for Rhaenyra's side. I mean, unless something horrible happens to her kids, they get lost or something, which I think is probably gonna happen. Also, we spend a lot of time with Lannister guy who was on the council. He was told to go get the Treyarchy, you know, help them take down this the blockade from the ports, right, of King's Landing, the reason everyone's starving. So he makes this deal. He has to like prove himself in this mud wrestling match, but he manages to convince everyone to like, all right, let's go do this. So yeah, Corlys is out there. He's about to get on a ship with his illegitimate child who hates him. You know, they had like a whole argument this episode, basically like, oh, now you remember I exist, now that my brother's got a dragon and all the heirs to your throne are dead, and now you're like, oh, that's right, I have some bastards out there that I've ignored their entire lives. Now you approach me, now you remember. Thanks a lot. You know, so like he basically tells him off like, am I supposed to be grateful that you now that I'm like 30, you finally acknowledge my existence? You know, so that was a pretty great moment for, I believe that was Alan of Hull, and the brothers Adam. The one that rides the dragon, I think, is Adam, and I think he's Alan. One day I'll get that right. Anyways, so yeah, Corlys is on a ship. They just fixed it. He renamed it the Queen That Never Was after his wife, and they're probably gonna run right into the Treyarchy, and I get the feeling that not everyone's gonna make it out of that situation. But like I said, the episode ends like right before all of this big confrontation happens. So next season, whenever it comes out, episode 1 better be like a trifecta of crazy confrontations, because we have Harrenhal happening, we have the Treyarchy and Corlys and the ships and the blockade, we have that happening, and then we have Rhaenyra going to King's Landing, we have that happening. So we got like 3 really important things all happening at once. So hopefully we actually get to see all that, and we don't have to wait like 4 episodes for that to happen whenever next season happens, you know, 2026, I guess. Oh man, that's gonna suck. The wait, it's the waiting that sucks. But in any case, yeah, I really enjoyed a lot of the stuff that they had in this. A lot of good moments, a lot of growth for Daemon, and I guess if I had to think about why they would end it here and make us do a long wait, it's so that way maybe for things like Daemon we can sit with it in this moment, in just like this place where he's finally got all this growth. He went through his ghost therapy sessions. He finally sees the future and whatever that means. You know, in spoilers, he's supposed to meet his end with Aemond, or at least, you know, his body was never found after this big fight between he and Aemond, which Helena basically spoiled. You know, Aemond's gonna die. He's gonna be lost in the God's Eye, right? So I guess maybe we're just meant to sit here with this, and that way we can like appreciate all the growth he went through. But I gotta say, having a whole season where he's in this castle, and even at the end of the season he's still in the castle, and it's like, he didn't get to do much. You know, he got to have a lot of interesting conversations with several dead characters, you know, but like it does kind of leave us in this place of like, oh, he didn't really get to go on his dragon and do some fighting and, you know, do some stuff. He just kind of stuck around in this castle the whole season, which, okay, fine, you know. So I don't know. I will say I don't think this season was as strong as the first season. I think there was definitely a lot of really cool moments, a lot of really interesting changes that they made to this story, and definitely makes you kind of question where they might change more in the future. But ultimately, I do think they should have ended this on like a more action heavy note, because now you got a lot of people like built up waiting for it, and I don't know if you can sustain that for 2 years. You know, like 2 years from now, am I still gonna be at this state where I'm like, oh man, I can't wait for all this to happen? Or am I gonna be like, oh, the show's finally back? Like, you know, like so many other shows and movies have come out since then, and my attention just went elsewhere, you know. So I don't know. It's gonna be interesting, but here we are. We're at the end of season 2. I don't know. Look, hopefully there's not another strike that would delay a bunch of stuff. Other than that, I guess we just got to keep on waiting, and we'll eventually see where this all goes. Now, I am curious, would season 3 be the final season of this show? Or do they have enough story here to go on for a 4th season? Because I don't think this was intended to be like an 8-season show like Game of Thrones was. You know, even though that show probably should have gone on for a couple more seasons. So I don't know. Very interesting to see where this all goes. I'm really curious to see what they're doing with these connections to the White Walkers and the prophecies, and you know, they're really building up the events of Game of Thrones to be more mythologized, to be more like significant. But at the end of the day, again, it was Arya who killed the Night King, and you know, you kind of sit there going like, are you gonna maybe if the prophecies start mentioning like, oh, the hero will have many faces, you know, like try to put that in there because she did the many face things. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out a way of how you could make the Arya of it all kind of add up with all this other stuff that you built up. I don't know. Anyways, let me know what you guys think about House of the Dragon episode 8 or season 2 in its entirety. Are you disappointed that it just kind of stopped and we're gonna have to wait probably a year at least, if not more, to get to the conclusion of all this, or at least like this build up to epic battles and confrontations that we're just waiting on, and now we gotta wait much longer? So let me know how you guys feel about that. What was your favorite moment of season 2? For me, I think, I mean, aside from Rook's Rest, I think I do think a lot of the Daemon, like, even though I think they spent way too long on this, a lot of the cool like haunted imagery of it all, you know, they really made, you know, I want to go back and watch Game of Thrones when they were at Harrenhal and see if there was any kind of spookiness at all, because I know it's always been like a thing they've always mentioned, like, oh, Harrenhal is supposed to be haunted, but it feels like this is the first time that they actually like, no, it really is haunted. There really is spooky magical stuff happening, because in Game of Thrones, like, I know Arya was there and Tywin was there, but like, I don't remember anything necessarily actually spooky happening. I think that they just use that as a way of like, oh, Jack and Hagar is killing a bunch of people, it must be the ghosts. Like, I think that's all they really used it for in the original show. So I don't know. Anyways, let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.